Hello, I'm just going to lean in here so I can chat for a little bit before I start this. This is a little tutorial that I'm making for some friends of mine in Spain who were interested in making just a basic soap recipe, and this is the basic one that I use. I call it Stephanie's handmade soap because that's the name of my teacher, and I've been making my own soap now for about 4 or 5 years and giving it to friends and family, and they seem to love it, apart from the fact that it doesn't have any weird smells, chemicals, hardeners, long lasтерers in it. It's lovely for my skin. I use it on my face. I use it to take my makeup off. So my Spanish friends, this is for you. From this point forward, I will be referring to my Spanish friends as my Spanish husbands, which is a little joke between us. But without much ado, I will quickly say the following disclaimer. By no stretch of the imagination am I a professional soap maker, and what I'm telling you today is just what I've learned by myself. All the safety precautions I'm taking are just general soap making safety precautions. We are working with sodium hydroxide, so things like safety goggles, long sleeves, long pants, closed shoes, and gloves are a must. Work slowly, no distractions, and let's go for it. I will disappear out of your screen now, and we'll be watching me do this. Okay, have fun. All right, so I'll talk. I'm coming to you from Melbourne, as you know. We're having really, really cold weather, and I hope you can hear the rain because it's gorgeous. I am working in a well-ventilated area because my windows over here are both open, and so that's very important when you're working with sodium hydroxide. Okay, let's go for it. I will just show you. This is sodium hydroxide. I'm going to quickly put on my gloves. This is the second take because the last take I actually got some sodium hydroxide in my eye. Not bad. So today I will be sporting the safety goggles and some gloves, long sleeves, so we'll go then. Okay, I have my recipe over here. This is the sodium hydroxide, the caustic soda that I use. I just buy it at our local supermarket in the cleaning department. Quite easily found. I have a little plastic container, and I will zero out this, and it says I need 70 grams of caustic soda, so I do have more, but with a little bit of luck we won't run out here. It's important to make these measurements very accurate because this is a chemical process. So if you have too much of one thing and too little of another, I've had many people say to me, that when they use the homemade soaps, it's so burny. Some of the soaps are burny. I'll tell you something, the reason they are burny is because the lye to oil percentage was not correctly worked out. So this is distilled water or demineralized water, also available at your local supermarket, and we'll be having 190 grams of this. If anybody is actually really interested in the recipe, I'll send it to you. Just contact me on Instagram or down at the bottom here on YouTube. 190. If I go over, which is quite easy with water, I have to tell you, I normally have just a little cloth hanging around here, and I pour out the excess. Let's see if I can do it perfectly today. There we go, 190, that wasn't bad. And I will put these aside now. So we'll take the scale away, and what you do is always put the lye into the water, never the other way around. You will find, I'm just going to move this a little bit, there we are, bong, bong, bong. It will explode if you put the water into the lye. You'll just have a big volcano. So we'll put the lye into the water, get that into your head, and kind of almost get the lye in the water. It reminds me of that coconut song. Anyway, so this will, you just stir this. I'm just stirring this here. As long as you use sort of stainless steel, don't use aluminium equipment. Oops, you know what? I forgot my mask. So luckily, we're all masked up really easily nowadays in Melbourne because we have to. You will actually get a smell. It's quite pungent. And if you're doing soap on a regular basis, you definitely don't want to be breathing that in. So of course it's fogging up my glasses now. So you just stir this until the crystals are dissolved. You can feel when the crystals are dissolved. The mixture has also gone cloudy, which is completely normal. When you feel the bowl, it's hot. The temperature's gone up. So once the crystals are dissolved, I usually take it and put it outside so it can cool down. You want the lye, I'll take the mask off quickly. You want the lye and the oils to be more or less the same temperature. Sometimes some people use thermometers. I've never used a thermometer. I'm about to measure out my oils. So while that's cooling down, you measure out your oils. I actually mixed up a sodium hydroxide mixer earlier on. You see how it goes clear? And now when I touch it, it's kind of room temperature, and that's just the temperature I want. If we wait for the other one to cool down, and this tutorial is going to be too long. So we'll keep going. Olive oil. We want 200 grams of olive oil. Remember to zero out your scale and go for it. 200 grams, so I'll just keep going a little bit. If you do go over the odd gram, it's not the end of the world, because when you scrape out these bowls, when you mix all the oils together in one place, you will maybe lose a gram here or there, but don't make it a habit. Okay, so olive oil done. Earlier on, I went to the microwave and I melted down some coconut oil. You will know that generally coconut oil is a solid, but it has a very, very low melting point. In summer, you can just put it in some hot water, but I don't know if I mentioned earlier, we have an Arctic cloud above us today here in Melbourne, and it's freezing cold. So I went to the microwave. I'm now going to put 150 grams of coconut oil in my little bowl. There we go, 150 grams of coconut oil. That one's done. And then I have 100 grams of rice bran oil. All of these oils, I remember Stephanie saying that the reason she put this mixture together was also, well, number one, it's fantastic. It's really wonderful for your skin. And, oops, zero out. And also all the ingredients are available at your local supermarket, which is super handy, I think. The other reason, if I remember correctly, she was saying that for a sensitive skin, she found, because I think she mentioned that she had a very sensitive skin, and using this she has absolutely no problem. So there's another up there. Sometimes I think the things that make you all itchy and that aren't really it's the ingredients that they put in to make it last longer and all of that stuff. Now, I've actually run out of a pot because this is my second batch. Because earlier on, I actually got sodium hydroxide in my eye, just a teeny little bit, and it was a bit burning. I had to stop the video and start again. So what I'm going to do now is so I've got the rice bran oil in here. I'm going to zero it out, right? And I'm just going to add what was the last one? Canola oil, which was 50 grams. I'm just going to add that. Now, when you get quite good at measuring out and you're a bit more confident, you can do it like this, like put one oil on top of each other, just zero out every time. The problem is that when you go over, you have to scoop it out, you know. So I'll do it this once. Let's see if I can get to 50 without making a mess. That's 49. And that's 50. Well done, Judith. Okay, so I've got all my oils here, ready to go. Take this away. I've got a bowl here that I'm going to use today. I don't normally use this bowl, but in my first attempt I saw you couldn't really see what I was doing. So I will put in my bowl the olive oil and use a spatula to scrape out as much of the oil as you can. So that one's done. I'm actually going to move this along a little bit more so you guys can see better. Is that better? That's better. Then I'm going to take the coconut oil. Again, use the spatula, scrape out as much as you can. That's why when I said earlier, if you lose the odd gram when you do the scraping out. And then here's the bowl that I put the flaxseed oil, whichever oil I'm using, and the canola oil together. So there we go. It's all in there. Voila. Okay. So that's what that looks like now. Just going to put this here. And I'm going to be using, now this is a point where I'm going to put my goggles on again because I think that's what happened last time. I'm going to use the stick mixer, and I'm just going to do this here. When you put the stick mixer in, put it in at an angle quite slowly and make sure, give it a bang. And that's called burping it. So you don't want any air trapped. I'm just emulsifying all the oils together now. So you see underneath the stick mixer, there's a little area that could cause a bit of air to be trapped. And you don't want that air in your soap. It's not that the soap's not going to work. It's just actually merely an aesthetic choice. So I've done that. Now I'm going to take the sodium hydroxide that I prepared earlier, and so put your stick mixer in, make sure, burp it, and let me see if I can get this so you can see what I'm doing. Turn this around to get the electric cord out the way. This is better. So we're going to start the stick mixer and pour the sodium hydroxide down the shaft of the stick mixer. It's going to be noisy, so I'm going to stop talking. And you'll notice the oil starts changing color straight away. So we're just going to keep doing that until all the sodium hydroxide has been poured out. There we go. Once that's done, give it a little smoosh about. Just stir it a little bit and keep going. Sort of pulse it. Can you see how it's kind of looking like runny custard? That's what you want. And did you hear that? And if I burp it, the air comes out. So you don't want any air. So always put your stick mixer in at an angle and gently put it down. I'm just going to be mixing here for a little bit. And what you're aiming for is called a trace. And trace basically is when you drop some of the soap down onto the surface of your mixture. You can see at the moment I've got a tiny little trace there, but that's not, oh man, that's not what I'm looking for. That's called light trace. What I want is a heavier trace. So I'll just keep stirring. So this stick mixer that I have is really nothing special. I think I bought it for $10 at Kmart or something. And I do keep it separate from my food stuff. Oh, there we go. So now the trace is becoming a bit bigger. So it's looking like you can actually feel when it's starting to get thicker. So there's no trace there yet. I'm going to keep going. And how quickly your soap comes to trace is it's so different. Sometimes it happens in a minute, and sometimes you have to keep going for a while. And often you can hear the engine kind of changes pace. It's starting to get there. Whoops, that wasn't meant to happen. Let's get it a little bit. Yeah, I think it can go a bit more. I'll show you when it's ready. I don't want to trap so much air in it, but there you can see now it's starting to look more. Can you see the trace? It's starting to look more like thick custard. Normally when you want to add some scent or some essence or some color, this is the time to do it, but I don't do that. You can sometimes hear the yeah, it's okay. I think I'll go a little bit more. I think I'm happy with that. Let me show you. You see now, if I drop it, it kind of, you see that there? That's quite a heavy trace. So we're going to go with that. So I'll just bang my little stick mixer to get all of this out of it. Always have like a little towel or something handy. I don't normally work on a table by this window. Now is the time that we will use a mold. I just use these empty milk cartons. When you have a milk carton, make sure it's got no aluminium lining. I cut the top off and I just pour it in here. You can use silicone molds, you know, bread baking molds. You can buy your own soap molds from specialty stores. I don't generally worry with that. I just pour it in like this. Over here is the one that I made earlier that I had to do over, and this is one that I made yesterday so that I can show you how to get it out of the mold. But there we go. So basically all I do is I just put the mold down and I start to pour the soap mixture into the mold, and I do bang it down a little bit just to get all the air out. There we go. Oops. I'm going to use a spatula, just scrape all of this out as best you can. I'm not doing a very good job of it, but I'm at a really silly angle here. Anyway, that's good enough. So, once you've done that, oops, I made a bit of a mess here. Couldn't see what I was doing. Once you've done that, just give it a little bang down. And it kind of looks like that on the inside. And then I use, where is it? Where's my little piece of plastic? There it is. I just use some Glad wrap. You can use this over and over and over again. And basically, so there are two things you can do. You can either use the Glad wrap, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it on the top of the soap, or you can use some 99% rubbing alcohol and just spray it over the top. It's just so that it doesn't, the top doesn't oxidize and form potash. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not so good looking. So then what you do is you just push this bit of Glad wrap down onto the top of the soap. Oh my goodness, I'm going to take my gloves off. I can't work like this. There we go. It's just easier like that. And you push it down like this. So it basically looks like that. I know it's difficult to see, but you just push it down onto the surface, sort of just poke it into the corners so you've got all the air bubbles out. There we go, that's what you want. And then you take a towel, because you want to trap the heat. You take a towel and you wrap it in a towel like this, and you put it aside for 24 hours, which is what I've done with this one over here. Okay, so we'll leave that now. That's the whole process. That was it. So quick and easy. I'm going to grab a chair, turn this a little bit towards me, and talk to you about my favorite books. I have two books. The one is a very recent one, but this is the one that I use for my own reference. Simple and Natural Soap Making by Jan Berry. She also runs a blog called The Nerdy Farmer's Wife. I think I'll put a link down at the bottom. This book for me made it all very clear, and I could start to think about making soap more seriously and trying different recipes. She explains how soap works, making oil substitution, what is superfatting a soap, and then there are all the different recipes. It's beautifully illustrated. I love the way it's put together. It's very kind of sophisticated American farm kitchen. I like it a lot. I love the different types of soaps that she's done. There are two that I'm going to try for sure. There is the I've been dying to do this one because it reminds me of my dad. Where is it? The book should fold open there. The problem is I've never done hot processed soap, but this is on my list. I can still see my dad's little mug, Old Spice mug, with his shaving soap in there. So that's one that I'm very interested in doing. But as I said, it is hot press. I've never done that before. And then the other one I want to do is this one. Mountain Man Beard Shampoo and Body Bar. I'm loving that. So that's definitely one on my list. The other thing that I like about this is her explanation as to what you can put into soaps is amazing. And then the best part of all is that she actually has a troubleshooting place, which is great when something goes wrong. Isn't that every beginner's nightmare when something goes wrong and you can't make out what's happened? That book, I love it. And then my most recent acquisition that I got from Can Do Books was this one here, Natural Soap Recipes. It's a Japanese author, and I'll tell you something, it is beautiful and it has the best Japanese aesthetic. I loved flipping through it. So it is called Natural Soap Recipes, 15 Organic Soaps to Create Yourself by Yuko Ide. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Beautifully set out, well explained. Actually, it's really written in a very delightful manner. I like it a lot. Everything in here, that the instructions are just so typically Japanese, very precise, simple, easy to understand, and the soaps are lovely. Argan oil, it's really, really well written. I like it. I would recommend it. However, I only have one problem with this particular book, is that almost every recipe has a palm oil in it, and I really am not a big fan of palm oil. This book here has got, specifically even says, all recipes are sustainably palm oil free. Now, you're going to have to do your own research on that, because I did do some research and it's not looking good. I don't like what I'm reading. And I'll quickly say there is in 2004 the Round Table on Sustainable Palm Oil, the RSPO, was established to promote the production and use of palm oil. It's got a little symbol, greenpalm.org. Now the problem with that is that I can't find any update on what they're doing since 2018. I find that a little bit worrying. In 2018, ABC News Australia reported that sustainable palm oil may not be so sustainable after all. So I recommend you go and you do your own research. If you're wanting to use palm oil, just inform yourself. The Nerdy Farm Wife has got a blog post on how to make any soap recipe palm free. You decide. Same with if you are vegan or vegetarian. There are tallow soaps around. You don't have to make them. Just do some research. There is so much research online about soap making. It's a bit of a bottomless pit once you get started. Anyway, so those are my books. Highly recommend either of them. Don't worry about the fact that they use palm oil in here. You can find a substitute. The book is well worth having. They still have some copies at Can Do Books. I'll put a link down at the bottom. I spoke to Can Do Books and they can certainly get this book for you. I would recommend this one first if you want to get into soap making. Be patient. You know what it's like at the moment with our friend Rona around. Everything is slowed down. So it might take a while to get the book, but you might see it in your local library or something like that. All right. Now here is this piece of soap. It's nice and hard, and I'm going to pull off the Glad wrap on the top, and what I normally do is I just actually keep it. It's not necessary to throw it away. You can use this over and over and over again, or you can go and invest in some 99% rubbing alcohol. Now here's the part that I hope is not going to let me down, because this is the part that I actually find the most difficult to get it out of the mold. Okay, sometimes it comes off. No, this one's going to give me a headache. Sometimes it comes out really easily, and sometimes I have to wrestle it out. Let's see if I have to wrestle this one out. And you see, this is the beautiful block of soap that's just appearing here. Oh, it's gorgeous. It still smells a little bit of sodium hydroxide, but I promise you that will go. This is the part that normally gives me a headache, is getting the bottom off. So having a silicone mold is easier, obviously, because you can get your soap out of there easier. You need to see this one. Trying my best, yeah. let's get it. It's still a little bit soft, but not too soft. If you've left your soap, right, and it's after 24 hours and it's still a little bit too soft, like you can't hold it without making big dents in it, then just put it in the freezer for an hour or two and let it harden up, and then you can come out and cut it. So, but this one is okay to cut, and you'll notice that the top and the bottom don't look very pretty because it's been in the mold. So what I normally do is I cut those two off and I use them as I would laundry soap. Just hold on a minute. So I have just a straightforward knife, and I have this metal ruler that I use. But so the first thing I do is I just kind of slice off the very edge like that, right, and I slice off this little edge. It's not necessary, I'm just being pedantic here. So it's still quite soft, so what you can do is you can just kind of smoosh it. I sometimes take it like this and I just roll it into a little ball, and then it's a balled up piece of soap or something, you know. And then this I can have just as a little laundry soap. I wash my underwear in it, so you can just use it like this. I'll just put it in a ball and I let it dry along with the rest of the soap. Now what I do is I take my ruler and I kind of go on the top. So this is 5 inches. So I will have, I like to do the soaps 1 inch. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to have 5 pieces of soap. That's so exciting. 1, 2, like that. And do it like this. You can score it across like that. And I don't pay attention to how thick or how thin it is, but there we go. There's your first piece of soap that you can put aside. So I will cut the whole piece, and I bought these little baskets. I bought them at Daiso. I don't know if you have Daiso in Spain, boys, but I use these. And then I'll just line up the soap in it, and I've cut, this is just mosquito netting, which I just lay over the top like this. On here I will put a date that I made the soap, and then 6 weeks later put a date. Now if you want to know when your soap is ready, what you can do is the following. It needs to, the moisture, the water needs to evaporate out of it. So what you can do is, you can, if you make your soap all the same size, which I'm doing, it's 1 inch, you can put the soap down. One of these, this one is weighing 113 grams. So I might put a little mark on it, and periodically, say maybe in 2 weeks time or so, I will go and see how much weight it's lost, and I'll mark that down. And then after about 6 weeks, it probably isn't losing any more weight, and at that point it's been cured and you can use it. Yep, so that's what I'm going to do in a minute, is I'll cut them all up and I'll put them in here. I do have some soap that I've already made that's cured. Oh, and it smells delicious. It's just such a natural, normal, lovely smell. The thing about soap is it doesn't, handmade soap, they take the glycerine out of it. Where commercial soaps take glycerine out, so you lose a lot of emollients. The glycerine is still in the soap. So the soap, doesn't matter how long you cure it, it does run the risk of getting a bit soft if you leave it in water, or if it doesn't have a chance to kind of drip from one use to the next. So basically what we have is, you need to find yourself a soap dish that can do the job. I found this one, this corrugated one, the last time I was home. So anything that will keep the soap a little bit airflow between the soap dish and the soap will work really, really well. Okay, I think that's about it. I think I've done it. I would recommend you get yourself a book and just get stuck in and do it. I wanted to show you, we've got Christmas in how many weeks? It's just around the corner, really. I was thinking, imagine this is everybody this year is going to get one of these. And then if you're crafty, you can even make the little makeup removable pads to go with it. The patterns for the face washers and the makeup removers are in my Ravelry. They're for free. I'll put a link down at the bottom, and you can go and have a look and see if you'd like to do something like that for Christmas presents. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this. As I said before, I'm by no stretch of the imagination a professional soap maker. Anybody can do this, and it's great fun, and it's good for your body. Your body will love you. That's it. Bye.